This World Cup was the first one we are hosting in France. At first, it was just the joy of hosting the world. But of course, the more we would perform, the more excited we would be.
When starting the World Cup, we were ready. All the country were cheering the national team and our team. And this was amazing feeling.
Sobre a nossa expectativa dessa Copa, era maravilhosa. O Brasil literalmente parou nessa Copa.
I was born in Nigeria. There's two major sporting events we never miss as a family: the Olympics and the World Cup.
I put it on.
Tengo muchas más cosas, pero están colgadas o están puestas y es medio raro.
I think for everyone, what we were most excited about seeing was Ronaldo and Zidane. The knowledge you were going to see those two stars in a World Cup, this festival of football, it was like hugely exciting.
Stade de France was actually built for the World Cup specifically, and then the opening game of the World Cup happened in Stade de France with Brazil playing there, definitely bringing interest of everyone.
O primeiro jogo da Copa
foi contra a Escócia.
Foi contra a Escócia, né?
And Scotland, nobody thought they had much of a chance, but you know they had some good players and a lot of players we knew, and you wondered if they could pull off a shock, but no one really believed they could.
Estava em casa, toda a minha família assistiu junto. Na Copa de, como você falou, na Copa de 94, tinha acabado de ser campeão, e o Ronaldo, que era o fenômeno.
I think they had Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos. The three of them alone were in the top 5 players in the world. And then you looked at ours, it was like David and Goliath kind of stuff. I think they scored after the first 4 or 5 minutes, and you're like, oh no, please don't make it embarrassingly good. And then we actually played not bad in the game, and we went into half-time, 1 each. We're like, please referee, just call the game off now. The defence done brilliant, and then the goal we gave away, attacking midfielders is back in defence, trying to clear it by a Brazilian type overhead kick, misses it, hits off of one of your guys' faces, and then it's just a total calamity, man. In typical Scotland.
Foi 2-1, Brasil ganhou 2-1.
We do all the hard work, but just at the very last minute, something chaotic happens, and that's it, we're out again.
1998 was the first World Cup that had 32 teams, so that made it more exciting. It opened up the tournament for a lot more debutants, a lot more teams to qualify, and that gave it a different air as well. To see Jamaica at a World Cup, the fans were incredible. Those beautiful kits, and if you look at where they are now, I'm sure it's something they all look back on. Thierry Henry, he was unknown. He was still playing at Monaco. He was still playing on the left wing. The pace which we would go on to see for years was there. His love of playing the game was there, and you knew there was a serious player. And what to say about Michael Owen? He arrived as a superstar. People forget the impact Michael Owen had on that England team. He gave them an extra element. The world really stood up and took notice then.
Davor Suker is the first one you think of when you think of France 98.
You knew that he was always going to be a threat because that Croatia team played such wonderful football, and Suker in and around the box, his movement was brilliant.
I mean, he did win the Golden Boot for that competition as well, and he was one of the biggest stars.
On paper, the starting 11 of that Nigeria team, I mean, Taribo West, JJ Okocha, Sunday Alisi, Kanu.
And a golden age of players that we will never ever see again. It was a mixture of strength, skill and audacity.
Wow, that game against Spain, they were just far too good.
So naturally the game kicks off. I think Piero scores. So we were just like, this is routine. And then something mad happens. We equalised. I remember looking at my mum thinking, are we going to do this? This is kind of mad. Raul scores. You know, everyone knows how lethal Raul is. One touch, bang, it is done, it is over. And then we equalise again and we're thinking, are these the same boys? How is this actually happening? Out of nowhere, Sunday Alise. Oh, you know, even saying this just brings chills down me, man. Sunday Alise rolls up and strikes one of the greatest cannons of a goal you'll ever see in a World Cup.
And the moment it's hit, you just know it rises beautifully, and there's only one place it's going, into that goal.
Nigeria, 3-2 up against Spain. It actually showed that these boys could actually represent on the world stage, and these boys were no team to be taken lightly.
To see Croatia at that World Cup was very exciting because they were still surfing that tidal wave of being a newly recognised country.
A lot of our players, even those who played in 1998 in France, were already on a World Cup in 1990, but representing Yugoslavia, which was still a country back then.
So the pride in every player, whenever you saw them play, was apparent.
As we progressed through the tournament, in the round of 16 we played against Romania, and I don't remember the match per se, but I do remember that they all had the blonde hair.
The bleach blonde hair, it had a big impact because everyone seemed to do it. There was people sunning in their hair and putting peroxide in their hair, and there's a lot of people had dodgy barnets in that World Cup because of that Romania team. It's like one of the most enduring images of any World Cup.
One of the sort of memorable games for the rest of the tournament for me was the England-Argentina game. And unfortunately for England, obviously it went to penalties again, but that game was actually a cracker.
Everyone was hugely optimistic. You know, obviously there was the fear. It's England, it's a major tournament, you know.
Ir ganando 1-0 con el gol de Batistuta en el penal ya nos puso de una manera muy, muy enérgica. Después nos empatan. Owen hace un golazo, el gol del Mundial. Y en la gran jugada de Zanetti, de Verón y Zanetti, que hacen el empate en el primer tiempo. Apenas comenzado el segundo tiempo, lo que vimos todo, la jugada en donde Beckham golpea sensiblemente a Simeone, no es que lo rompió, y lo echan ya, como que nos dio otra visión de que podíamos ganarlo tranquilamente.
The papers back home are starting to pin everything on him and Michael Owen a little bit as well. So there's pressure, and he was a young lad. You know, it's just naive and a little bit stupid, but if you look back at it, it's also brilliant from Diego Simeone. When Sol Campbell scored the goal that wasn't given 10 minutes from time, me and about 12 of my mates all ran out of the pub we were in, and we were all in the street, on our knees, screaming to the sky. That's it, we think we've won. And then it's penalties. The muscle memory of fear and failure and everything kicks in. The Argentinian penalties were great, but when David Batty walked up, the pain when he hit that penalty, the pain of everyone around me, to see 100 people suffer, however many it was.
Ganarle a Inglaterra siempre es una gloria, y eliminarlos fue espectacular.
It was an English curse, and just the deflation, it's something I remember for a long time. I think the introduction of the golden goal was fantastic, and it's something I wish was still in football now.
Round of 16, France-Paraguay. Well, that game was really hard actually, like 0-0. And then we got lucky to score a golden goal, which was the first ever in the World Cup history.
I remember Blanc scoring his, and I think it was deep into it, whether it was in the first half or the second. I know there was a lot of people against it, and I'm pretty sure the players didn't really like it, but for fans it was fantastic. It was a great tournament for keepers. With Schilliver, you'd sort of heard a lot about him and you knew his record.
He was a very good goalkeeper, but more than that, he was actually a very good player. Like, he used to take the free kicks, the penalty kicks. He would score many goals.
When you don't care about either of the teams, apart from you want to see a winner in a good game, see goalkeepers taking penalties and free kicks, it's as good as it gets.
Fabien Barthez was one of the best goalkeepers back then, so that's who I remember.
He was wonderful in that tournament. He's a real symbol for France. He really stood up as a key player and a big personality in that team. I can't remember the first time I saw the players kiss him on the head, but it soon became something everyone was waiting for.
Kind of a way to bring a good luck.
If it was lucky for them, and I'm sure they thought it was lucky because they kept on doing it, and well, you know, it was lucky, wasn't it?
Well, semi-finals was in such a big stage against the host country, France.
I would say even we were very confident against Croatia until the game started, and then it was not as easy as we expected.
We took the lead. Suker obviously scored. Who else?
1 minute later, Lilian Thuram scored a goal. He had never scored before.
I know Lilian since he was 17. Every day we train together. This guy, he never give up. Never give up. He didn't want to lose a game.
And then maybe 20 minutes later, Lilian Thuram scored again. Scored in his world career 2 goals for French national team, and the 2 goals were in this game, in the semi-final.
Which I will never definitely forget or forgive.
The semi-finals was against Brazil. The team that we had in France was Edwin van der Sar, Philippe Cocu, Frank and Ronald de Boer, Patrick Kluivert, Dennis Bergkamp.
And Dennis Bergkamp, if he wasn't already a household name, was a household name forever. You know, everything he did was like a painting. It was divine.
The game was equal.
Foi jogo muito bom, se eu não me engano.
In the end, we managed to score door Patrick Kluivert 1-1 with 3 minutes to go. So we get into the extra time. So it was penalties on the end. And when penalties are with the Netherlands, that always go bad. And this time we lost.
France-Brazil, it was the dream final.
A gente tinha muita expectativa por conta da semifinal, quando o Brasil ganhou da Holanda.
The lead up to that was so controversial because Brazil had the most in-form striker in the world. Ronaldo was red hot. There was talk that Ronaldo was not going to make the World Cup final. Are you mad?
Like, no one really knew what was going on, and he wasn't on the team sheet, and he was on the team sheet.
O Brasil inteiro ficou preocupado com a saúde dele.
On one hand, it's like, oh, but it would be really sad not to see the best player in the world play. On the other hand, to be honest, it's like, oh, if he doesn't play, then we have a good chance actually to win.
I remember it because it was so shocking, and then all of a sudden, game kicks off, he's walking out onto the pitch.
And I'm thinking, this is going to be a juicy final.
No, we were prepared to ride on the final and to beat Brazil.
From kickoff, I knew that this was going to be a Zidane masterclass. No one was going to take that cup from him.
And yeah, that game, first Zidane scoring at the corner like with the head.
And then he scores the first goal with his head, and you're like, he's got headers in his locker. Okay, interesting. Scores the second goal with his head. Okay, this guy ain't even messing about. Zidane's masterclass in that World Cup final was sublime. Marcel Desailly slides in and makes the clumsiest challenge, and then France are reduced to 10 men, and you're thinking, oh God. And then when Emmanuel Petit scoops in at a lovely little goal, it was pandemonium. The French had won it.
Emmanuel Petit, 3!
Really crazy, and I remember like the players running on the field, like with cameraman going.
Apesar da tristeza, tem que se reconhecer que realmente o time da França naquela final foi sensacional. Assim, méritos para o Barthez, para o Zidane, que foi incrível em campo.
It was the Zidane show. Probably one of the greatest players the world has ever seen.
He could boss it physically, he could boss it technically, and the performance from start to finish was just exemplary. Imagine playing in the capital city of your country at a home World Cup in the final in front of your fans against Brazil and battering them. Nothing can ever beat that moment.
I don't think anyone could have imagined France would go to a final against Brazil and win 3-0.
The victory scenes are something you can never forget. What a thing for a country to experience, winning your home World Cup. A whole country came out to welcome them, and the parties in Paris lasted days.
We just thought, okay, let's go to the main city to celebrate. And we went there, it was like full pack. Some people were jumping in the fountain. It was like hundreds of thousands of people. So of course it was like really totally crazy.
Now the World Cup belongs to France, and it does so for the very first time.
France deserved to win that World Cup because of the tournament they put on, because of the quality of their team, the fanaticism of their support, and yeah, it was. I mean, it was fully deserved, and just brilliant moment.
It will remain for the story of France, for the story of the people, and for the story of the national team forever.